The joke, I'd like to just say thank you, congratulations once again. Rowan, my love, thank you.
Dr. Paul Hutchison.
It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to support the Sullivan Birth Certificate Bill in its third reading, and might I too acknowledge Rowan and Doreen up there in the gallery. I too feel almost as though I've been on a little bit of a journey, in that though I'm not on the Select Committee, it has been a great privilege to be part of this process here in the Parliament, which is quite historic and is indeed unique to the circumstances. There is no doubt this is a situation driven by a young woman's determination to honour her mum. As I understand it, in her own words, she said, "I want my mum's name in my birth certificate to honour her." This bill is indeed about human rights and very deep-rooted human instincts that all of us should be able to realise. Mr. Speaker, in previous readings of this bill, I've pointed out some of the huge transitions that we in New Zealand and around the world have witnessed in the changes both with birth technologies, in changes with the law, and of course in changes in our attitudes to previous areas that were really extraordinary taboo and in many respects put things under the carpet that were only led to confusion and dishonesty and often to deep-seated resentment. And look, may I too acknowledge Louisa Wall for the double whammy. It was indeed her earlier bill that was landmark here in the Parliament that led, I understand, Rowan to approaching her, and congratulations on that in that respect. When I first spoke on this bill, I did speak about a variety of examples of young people who had searched the world, more or less, because despite huge hurdles, because of this deep-seated instinct to be able to find their parents and know their parents, whether they were alive or not, whether they were in a different country or not. But it's been fascinating to me as a former obstetrician gynaecologist to see what's happened in New Zealand over the years. And I was at the National Women's Hospital celebration of 50 years just last month, where I spoke and heard of the extraordinary work in New Zealand that occurred. Professor Bonham, who was the head of the hospital at the time, used to literally mix together donor sperm so they could not be detected because of the legal ramifications. That's how far we've changed, because the opposite is that we surely want to seek transparency and openness, because that's the way people will unravel the huge distortions that occur when information is repressed. And I want to acknowledge a young social worker called Joy Ellis, who was at National Women's through the time when the debates on informed consent were raging, because she was the one who came up and said, look, it's absolutely inappropriate to have the prevailing situation continue. We must have transparency and honesty. And it set the legal profession and academic sociologists in New Zealand working hard to see if we could follow that sort of pathway. I'd like to acknowledge Professor Ken Daniel, sociologist from Victoria University, who has represented New Zealand in the academic literature in this field and is widely regarded as an international expert and innovator in terms of ensuring that openness prevails. And of course, Freddie Graham, Mont Liggins, who led the IVF team. But finally, Mr. Speaker, I come back to the bill. This indeed, I hope, is very much one of celebration. It is fantastic to see you, Doreen and Rowan, here tonight in the Parliament. It's wonderful that Louisa has been the person that's brought this through to reality. Mr. Speaker, I certainly think this is a wonderful bill and commend it to the House.
I'm advised this is not a split call.
Been
Honourable
correctly
Ruth
advised,
Dyson.
Mr. Speaker.